Hi, I'm Scott with Home Perfect Restoration, and we have one of our clients, Allison Theriot, here with us today. And we were going to share a little experience of what's going on in her claim, as this is not one of the best claim processes that we're experiencing. And you've been through multiple claims, correct?
I have, yes.
And the last time we got connected was on a water damage claim, just the repairs for you.
Yeah, just a small water leak in the kitchen.
How did you feel that claim went?
Easy.
Easy?
Very easy, yeah.
And now there's a fire damage claim. And how do you think
Unfortunately.
that claim's going?
Not easy at all. We are almost at month 11 and repairs have not started. Not because of you guys, because the insurance has stalled us at every avenue that they can. We have one specific adjuster, the structural adjuster, who does not want to compromise on anything, has been unprofessional, unethical, combative at times.
Combative's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Legitimately combative. So this is a claim that, like she said, has been dragging on. Has it been
It'll be a year
August?
at the end of July.
July?
Yeah.
So originally there was multiple insurance adjusters that came out for the carrier, one being a contents adjuster, who I thought was really great. He went through, and this is a fire that started in the house, heavy smoke damage throughout the whole house.
The AC was running, blew
Yep.
the smoke everywhere.
And the contents adjuster came in, and the fire was upstairs in the bedroom. But even that contents adjuster said all these appliances have to go in the kitchen downstairs. All of the soft furniture have to be replaced. And then after he leaves,
All the electronics.
right, all the electronics, everything, then a structure adjuster comes in and says, there's no damage down here. We're not paying to do this or that or clean and remove cabinets. So at that time, it was him, his supervisor, another adjuster that they were training. Like you had every adjuster, I think, in the local area at your
There
house.
was a lot, yeah.
So we came to, well, yeah, there was an altercation with your adjuster on site, and he left, and we came to a good agreement with the supervisor.
But he left and didn't even finish his walkthrough or estimate, or
Right.
he came outside and blew up on me
Yes.
after blowing up on you and
Yes.
Rob. Yeah.
Yes, he was adamant that he was right, and we challenged him on why the contents adjuster saw all this damage that he can't see, and yada yada. So we came to an agreement with the supervisor to remove upper cabinets, to check for smoke behind there. Thankfully, that did get approved, and we did find a lot of smoke damage behind the upper cabinets. But all of that was not reflected on the adjuster's estimate.
Yeah.
So we were saying that there's probably about $250,000 of damage at that time, and we got a $50,000 estimate from the adjuster.
Something like that, yeah.
So this claim continued to spiral, where you had to involve a public adjuster now because you weren't getting anywhere. Asked for a new adjuster.
We asked numerous times. Myself and my husband, you asked. We had that conference call,
Right.
which did not go well. This specific adjuster, he's very belittling. We had a conference call between me, Scott, and another adjuster who she oversees. The other adjuster oversees the claim, oversees the other adjusters. I'm not really sure what her role is.
Supervisor to the, yeah.
And even when this adjuster, he was almost taunting sometimes, he talked down to me multiple times, argumentative with you, and we, even on the phone call, we asked point blank for a new structural adjuster, and she, seeing his behavior, still wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty point blank. We just said, at what point are you going to start trusting us? You said there was
Yeah.
not going to be any damage behind the cabinets. It was
There
found to be
was.
damage behind the cabinets. You said there was no damage in the HVAC company. Their own preferred vendor laughed at his estimate and said this whole system has to
And
go.
how many prior to their own vendor, you had what, 2 separate estimates on the HVAC
Yes.
system that you provided them showing it was a total loss?
Yes, and he was in disagreement until the preferred vendor went out there.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing, not only was it the adjuster's attitude, but your husband's in the military and was deploying and didn't want to leave you to deal with all this. So you had to go with a public adjuster, which there's a financial commitment to doing that. And it's unfortunate that some homeowners are placed in that position. But thankfully, a public adjuster can move things along faster. But the most recent, I guess, travesty, you can almost call it.
Setback, stalling tactic.
Right. And kind of like what even led to us talking about sharing this was another inspection. Was it 2 months ago now with the preferred vendor?
Beginning of April. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in December, you guys finished the cleaning and the demo.
Yes, there was still some
except
more.
for the lower cabinets in the
Correct.
kitchen. And then everything stalled from December to April because we were waiting for this adjuster to schedule his vendor to come out, the comp bid.
Correct.
Right? He didn't like your estimate. It was too high
Yes.
compared to his 50,000.
Yep.
The repair estimate. So we waited almost 5 months with no work being done for this inspection to take place. So it finally takes place in April. It's a 3-hour-long inspection. Unfortunately, you weren't there, but you had a team there. I was there. My public adjuster was there. And then the other contractor that was hired by the insurance company was there. They did a very thorough inspection. They found additional damage. Everybody worked together really good. This guy wrote up his estimate, and the adjuster did not like his estimate because it was not in line with his estimate.
I think it was slightly higher than ours.
It was higher than yours. And so the adjuster then told him not to write it up.
Yeah, I think at that time we were around 280, and that preferred vendor was talking about damages closer to 300,000. And yeah, the adjuster told him not to write an estimate, and then the adjuster came back with his new revised estimate of $75,000
Yeah.
total. So it is just mind-blowing, this whole process, all the delays. Not to mention all the delays, even in the very beginning where we knew that items were going to have to be removed, and the preferred vendor that kind of took control of this situation that Joe said we had to go through said, well, yeah, that's fine. We know it's going to have to be removed, but clean it first.
Yeah.
And then remove it to clean again, which is a complete waste of money. It doesn't make any sense at all. So it's hard, we hear a lot on the contractor side of things and homeowner side of things of why insurance rates are going up because there's so much money being
wasted.
They won't say wasted. They're not making their profits that they should because construction costs are up. But then you look at your situation firsthand, countless delays, almost a year later, still nothing being done. Cleaning stuff that you know is going to have to be removed just to remove it and then clean again, and then paying contractor after contractor after contractor to go and try to get an answer that the carrier wants, rather than just you've already deemed this person as your expert, just go off of what he says and let's move this thing forward, because this house should have been done months ago, and they're paying thousands of dollars a month right now for
they're paying our rent at a rental house. They're paying storage fees for everything that was not totaled out, so all our belongings. They're paying additional storage for clothing that was, professionally cleaned and is now being stored. I think that's about it. But that's, 3 separate storage and rental fees monthly, and none of them are cheap. So
yeah, if you had to guess the ballpark figure just between housing and content
monthly,
storage,
I would say it's probably in the ballpark of maybe 75 to 8,000 a month.
which is wasted money.
Yeah.
And now your husband came back from deployment, probably thinking he's going to be back in the house.
He was hoping, yeah.
And now he's going to be deploying again.
He is. He's gone right now. He'll be home this week. He's basically home for the weekend. and then leaving for the whole summer, and then home for about a month, and then deploying again. So
Yeah.
stressful.
It is stressful, yeah, for your whole family. So, is there anything, I mean, I guess, like we always preach in our education that you need somebody that works for you in your best interest. And do you feel that that was essentially what you needed in this situation? Like, if you didn't have somebody on your side, would you have known how to navigate this process, or what would you have done?
I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we had met you guys earlier in the year for our water leak. I mean, Rob, who's off camera, you can't see him, but he was our project manager for the water leak, and he was one of my first phone calls later that afternoon. I just called and said, hey, do you guys do fires? I need you to reach out to them. And then they were the ones who eventually, told us about I had no clue what a public adjuster was. Obviously, everyone knows what an attorney is and that that's a route you can take. And our public adjuster does work with an attorney. But I think as far as contractors go, you guys are one of the top at advocating for your customers. And we've had claims in the past with other homes we've owned, and definitely didn't have that level of compassion. And
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is the, I think, third claim that you've had total throughout your life, or?
With this house.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a claim with our other house in Washington, and that was a bigger claim, not a fire claim, but it was we had a tree branch come through the roof during a big storm, but we didn't realize it for a couple weeks, so there was a lot of water damage that built up.
Right.
Until water started coming through one of the smoke detectors about 2 weeks later. So that was it was a big water claim. But yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are with a good insurance company, I feel, right? And this is kind of where we said that you can have a great insurance company and a bad adjuster.
Oh, absolutely.
And have a terrible experience.
We have been through all of the claims we've had, and our first claim at our current house was also a very large water claim. The one that you guys did was a small water claim. But through all of these claims, we've had the same insurance company. I'm allowed to say it, right?
Sure.
Okay. We have Geico. We're with the Geico military program, but doesn't really matter. However, the Geico, when you do the bundle, the homeowner's policy is underwritten by Liberty Mutual. So our homeowners is through Liberty Mutual. We've never had an issue, never had a bad adjuster until this time. And even with our fire claim, all the adjusters we worked with were great, except for the structural adjuster, who from the minute he stepped foot on our property was just antagonistic.
I don't know if you remember the adjuster that was down here doing, I guess they said training, but he's been an adjuster for a while from up north. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what he said? He said, man, they do things different down here than they do up north. I mean, it was that different of an experience.
Yeah, I believe it.
With that adjuster. And that adjuster was telling me off to the side, like, I think everything you're saying is reasonable. And it was. I mean, there's no way to, I guess, dispute those things. And all we ask for on day one is, if you don't agree with something, let's get a testing company to come in and do testing and let them write the protocol. And they, to this day, have still refused that. And I don't understand why that is, because that would be the most neutral claim experience, or neutral party to come in and just write a protocol based off of what that lab data shows.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your experience. I know it's not fun and it's been a stressful process.
Yeah.
You guys have done very well in advocating for yourselves and kind of hanging in there to make sure that your property is protected. You have kids, obviously, so you want to make sure that, especially in a fire damage, which is carcinogenic in nature and not healthy, that there aren't shortcuts.
I've learned a lot about you've taught me so much about like the soot and everything, how it sits and all the chemicals that are in it.
I'd say with you being attached to all the emails between what we send and the public adjuster sends and testing companies send, you probably know more about
Yeah.
fire damage than most people now.
And I can see now how the way that insurance companies work, they just stall and they pick at you and hope that you just give up and go with what they want you to do,
Right.
you know, and that's just not in my nature.
No.
I can't do it. So
right now, you are going through an appraisal process, which means even longer delays.
last I've heard, the insurance denied the appraisal, but our attorney is filing it. I'm not super clear on how. I know how the appraisal works in the end. I'm not clear on how it works at this point. But yes, it will drag it out longer. I'm still hopeful that with this adjuster's supervisor now a little more involved, that hopefully we can come to a resolution. But there's the potential that if the appraisal is approved, that it could drag it out up to another year.
Right.
Which is, crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure you want to go home.
Yeah, I do want to go home. Our dogs miss their backyard, and
And I do say that, or I will say that we have to give kudos to that preferred vendor for being honest and ethical. It does show that the carriers have full control over their vendors. Right?
Yeah.
They work for the carrier because he wouldn't give you an estimate. He was told not to write one, but he was very open and honest about identifying the damages, letting you know that you actually had a contractor that was on the money with what needed to be done there, and he wasn't trying to cover anything up. And that does mean a lot for somebody in the industry, because that's not what everybody does.
yeah.
So,
And our public adjuster too made sure that we had the owner of the business, not just some random
okay, so that probably helped a
estimator.
lot.
So sometimes maybe advocate for,
Right.
someone with experience to come do that comp bid.
All right, so I hope that this message was impactful to some of you. I mean, it just shows that you have to advocate for yourself if something doesn't seem right. Get a team behind you that will advocate for you. Do your research, do your homework. But at the end of the day, it's your home, it's your health, it's your safety, and your family. And you just got to do what's right and advocate for yourself, because you're the only one that's going to.